This looks like an empty dish of water, but as a matter of fact, it's not. It's packed with algae. These tiny green specks, they run and thrive in every and any water bodies, even the Grand Pacific Ocean, and honestly, the planet. Algae aren't plants and they aren't animals either. So what are they exactly? Well, to put it simply, algae are simple photosynthetic organisms that mostly live in water, and their discovery and classification developed gradually as science advanced. Ancient people noticed seaweeds and freshwater algae thousands of years ago, but they were not scientifically studied until the 1700s. Carl Linnaeus, known as the father of modern taxonomy, was one of the first scientists to formally describe algae. He placed them in the plant kingdom because they make their own food by using sunlight. However, as microscopes improved in the 19th century, scientists like Ernst Haeckel discovered that many algae were very different from land plants. Haeckel proposed a new kingdom, Protista, to separate algae and other simple organisms from true plants. Algae are classified differently from plants because they lack many features that define plants, because unlike them, algae do not have true roots, stems, leaves, or vascular tissues for transporting water and nutrients. Many algae are single-celled, while all true plants are multicellular. Algae also reproduce in simpler ways and often live entirely in water, absorbing nutrients directly from their surroundings rather than through roots. These differences showed scientists that algae do not fit neatly into the plant kingdom. Seaweeds are classified as macroalgae, meaning large algae. They live attached to rocks or other surfaces in oceans and seas. Even though seaweeds look like plants, they do not have true roots, stems, leaves, flowers, or even seeds. Therefore, they are classified as algae. However, seaweeds have a holdfast, which anchors the seaweed to the rocks, but is not technically a root, a stipe, which is a stem-like structure, and the blade, which is the leaf-like part that absorbs the sunlight. These parts help seaweeds thrive in waters but do not function like true plant organs.
This is it, boys! From the seaweed with 2 leaves on it, 10,000 paces east!
But, Mr. Krabs, that seaweed has... Which way?
Algae are commonly classified based on their pigments, cell structure, and how they store food, which reflect their evolutionary differences. The most familiar groups are green algae, brown algae, and red algae. Let's break things down and look at why these algae are separated into 3 different groups based on their light-absorbing pigments, cell wall composition, and food storage. Firstly, let's look at the green algae. Like their name suggests, green algae are green in color due to chlorophyll A and chlorophyll B, which are the same pigments found in land plants. These pigments absorb red and blue light, making green algae most efficient in shallow or freshwater environments where sunlight is strong. In green algae, cellulose is the main material that makes up the cell wall, which is the firm outer layer of each cell. This wall helps the algae keep its shape, protects it, and stops the cell from bursting when water enters. Cellulose is made from many glucose sugar units linked together in long straight chains. These chains stick closely to each other using weak bonds, which together make the structure strong and tough, even though each chain is very thin. In green algae, many cellulose chains bundle together to form tiny fibers. Other soft materials such as gel-like sugars fill spaces between the fibers and help hold everything together. The cellulose fibers are made at the cell surface and pushed outwards as they form. Inside the cell, small structures guide the direction the fibers are laid down. This direction matters because it helps control the shape of the cell and how it grows. However, some green algae have several layers in their cell wall. In each layer, the cellulose fibers may run in different directions. This makes the wall both strong and flexible. which is useful in water where waves and currents can cause stress. During photosynthesis, the green algae produce starch at which they tend to store it within their chloroplast. Storing food in the chloroplast allows green algae to quickly use this energy when light is low or at night. Next on the list, we have the brown algae. Brown algae such as kelps and seaweed contain chlorophyll A and C, along with the brown pigments called fucosynthein. Fucosynthein absorbs blue to green light which penetrates deeper into the ocean, allowing brown algae like kelp to photosynthesize in deeper coastal waters. The cell wall of brown algae is thick, flexible, and strong. It is mainly made of cellulose fibers, but unlike green algae, these fibers are embedded in a soft jelly-like material called alginic acid or alginate. This combination gives the cell wall both strength and elasticity. The cellulose provides support while alginate allows the algae to bend with waves instead of breaking. The alginate is especially important since it can hold large amounts of water, making the cell wall gel-like. This helps protect brown algae from drying out during low tide or from damage caused by strong currents. In large brown algae such as kelp, the cell wall may have several layers, which adds extra protection and flexibility. Looking at the outer surface of the cell wall of brown algae, it contains sulfated polysaccharides like fucodan. These compounds help protect the algae from microbes and may also play a role in cell communication and ion balance in seawater. Brown algae store their food in forms that are different from starch used by green algae or land plants. The main storage product is laminarine. Laminarine is stored inside the cell in small sacs and can be quickly broken down to provide energy when needed.
More energy, more energy.
In addition to laminarine, brown algae also store energy as mannitol, a type of sugar alcohol. Mannitol plays two important roles. It serves as an energy reserve and helps the cell control water balance. This is especially useful in salty marine environments where water movement in and out of cells must be carefully regulated. Unlike starch, which is stored in chloroplasts, laminarine and mannitol are stored in the cytoplasm, making them easily available for metabolism and growth. Lastly, let's look at the red algae. The red algae contain chlorophyll A and red pigments called phycobilins, especially phycoerythrin. These pigments absorb blue light very efficiently, enabling red algae to photosynthesize at greater depths. The cell wall of red algae is made of cellulose microvipers, which is similar to green and brown algae, but these vipers are embedded in a thick gel-like matrix of special sugars. They store their food as Floridian starch, which is different from the starch found in green and land plants. Although algae are not classified as true plants, they are one of the most crucial part of the ocean and freshwater ecosystem. Algae are a vital part of the ocean food web, because they form its base, supplying energy to almost all marine life, especially microscopic ones called phytoplankton. Phytoplankton essentially refer to the microscopic algae that photosynthesize in water.
Pirate, this is no ghost. This is plankton!
At the first level of the food web, phytoplankton are eaten by zooplankton, such as tiny crustaceans and larval animals. These zooplankton are then consumed by small fish, which in turn are eaten by larger fish, seabirds, and marine mammals. Even the largest animal on Earth, like the blue whale, depend on algae indirectly by feeding on the krill that eat phytoplankton. This means energy captured by algae moves upward through every level of the ocean food chain. In a more direct note, many sea animals like the sea otter, snails, limpets, or collector sea urchins feed or graze on kelp forest, which is essentially a forest of large brown seaweed that can grow 2 feet a day. That's faster than bamboo underwater. Furthermore, not only do certain animals rely on kelp for food, but people from particularly Asia, South America, and the Pacific Islands rely on different edible species of seaweed for food. These edible algae are rich in vitamins, minerals, iodine, and fiber, and are eaten fresh, dried, or added to soups and salads. Red algae such as Gracilaria and euchima are widely eaten and cultivated for food and for making products like algae, which is used to make jello or used in growing mediums in labs. Furthermore, brown algae, including some kelp species, are used in Pacific coastal diets and traditional medicines. Macroalgae isn't just fish food or for that sushi wrap. It's basically Mother Nature's built-in seawall. Those long kelp forests or dense mats of green, brown, and red algae act like a sponge for wave energy. When waves crash, the seaweed slows them down, absorbs the force, and protects the coast behind it. Think of it like a giant underwater bouncer, keeping the beach safe. Now let's take a step back here for a second. Although algae is mentioned to be a crucial part of the ocean and freshwater ecosystem, there are some drawbacks it can impose. While these green blobs are usually ocean-making legends, they can quickly turn into biological bullies when they grow out of control. For instance, imagine you're chilling at your favorite lake ready for an epic summer swim, only to find the water looking like a giant bowl of radioactive broccoli soup. This is known as algae bloom. An algae bloom is essentially a biological explosion triggered by a perfect storm of environmental ingredients, with the primary fuel being an overabundance of nutrients like nitrogen and phosphorus. This process is known as eutrophication, which often begins when heavy rains wash fertilizers from farms, lawn chemicals from suburbs, and waste from industrial sites into rivers and lakes. Once these nutrients hit the water, they act like high-octane rocket fuel for microscopic organisms. In 2025, researchers have highlighted that record-breaking marine heat waves and rising global temperatures have further accelerated this process, as warm water acts like an incubator that allows algae to reproduce at staggering speed. These blooms also act like a giant slimy blackout curtain, blocking sunlight from reaching the plants below and crushing the whole underwater ecosystem. Beyond just being gross and smelling like a dumpster in July, they clog up water pipes and can make your tap taste like dirt. Even the dream of using algae for eco-friendly biofuel has a catch. It's currently super expensive and requires a massive amount of land and water to get right. So while they might be the lungs, when massive algae bloom die, they rot, which allows microbes to feast on them, which breaks them down. And in order to do so, these microbial bacteria use up oxygen to provide energy for them to do so. And when they do, they suck up all the air out of the water, creating what is known as dead zones, where fish literally can't breathe. All that to say, not all algae are good, and that some of the nastier types like blue to green algae are basically nature's chemists, pumping out toxins so dangerous they make you seriously sick or even be fatal for dogs who wanted just a quick drink. They release a variety of potent, hot stable toxins that can seriously damage human health, and because they are not destroyed by boiling water or cooking, they pose a significant threat to our food and water systems. In 2025, Pacific leaders have officially declared war on toxic algae bloom, treating these biological bullies as a major threat to the security and survival of the Blue Pacific continent. During high-stakes summits like the 54th Pacific Islands Forum, presidents and prime ministers have moved beyond just talking about the rising tides to addressing how overheating oceans are turning their pristine lagoons into toxic soup. They are framing these blooms as a massive food security crisis because the toxins don't just kill fish, they poison the shellfish and reef predators that Pacific communities have relied on for generations. Organisms in nature have good and beneficial impact they can bring into an ecosystem, but they can also impose danger if they are left unchecked. So although algae don't roar, they don't swim, and they don't even get credit for the oxygen they produce, but they feed coastal communities, oxygenate the planet, and help shape the future of our oceans. So though they might be tiny, ancient, they're still in charge. So next time you see green water, Just know that these tiny green blobs are working over time to make sure the earth continues to inhale and exhale.